Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of The Truth Is Here. You are watching the Mahdi Has Appeared TV. There is a number on your screen. Please use it. And all you on social media, do keep it clean, do keep it respectful. We are trying to convey a message here to you. I am joined by my very, very good brother Waqar.
God bless you, brother. It's an honor, thank you.
God bless you, and the honor is all mine, and I appreciate your, being with me, man. It's always an honor.
Thank you, my brother.
Right, so our last, the last maybe 4 or 5 episodes, we've been talking about fairly direct topics, topics that are sort of for all people out there who, want to know or want to sort of be sure of the direction they're going in and, knowing what God is asking of them and so on. These have been quite important topics we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. In the world we live in today, right? We've covered this before. It is quite a confusing kind of place to be, trying to orient yourself and figure out where, what direction you're going in, who you're loyal to, what you're, serving.
Yeah.
And
one thing is for sure that one must have a loyalty to something, in this world. And if you don't have, basically we live in a world of contracts. Yeah,
of course you do.
You'll notice everyone. You'll either sign a contract in your life, or you'll have a verbal contract somewhere.
Right.
But you have to understand that there has to be also a religious contract.
For sure.
Yeah. Because there is a divine creator, and that creator, he requires certain conditions for his creation so that they may benefit from him, And the thing is that this contract is completely different to the contracts we sign in the dunya.
Of course.
This contract is like what it is in the world. The contract is usually two-sided. There's terms and conditions on both sides. But with the contract with God, there's no condition from your side. All the conditions come from God's side. All that's required from you is to say, I do, or sign on the dotted line, and that's it.
Right. So the common theme we see with all contracts is the binding.
Yeah.
There is a sort of like an adherence to what's been agreed.
Yeah.
Right?
What God's basically saying is that before any of your prayers, your fasting, your religious obligations are even accepted, you have to have a pledge.
Of course, exactly.
Which is a contract, which is an oath.
Yeah.
And the reason is we are discussing this is because before anyone fulfills any of your religious obligations, you have to first make sure and ask yourself, do you have this contract with Allah?
Well, this is the thing about an oath, right? Like a contract, it's binding.
Yeah.
And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in one of the versions of this specific hadith, whoever is not bound by an oath of allegiance dies the death of ignorance.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So that oath is binding. It is a sort of like an obligation in itself, in its own right. And it's a recognition of the authority over us, right? So this also applies to the contracts. The contracts in the real world, or the world we live in out there, right? these contracts have an authority over us because we agree to the terms, and as you said, we signed the dotted line, and that makes it binding, meaning that we are now obliged to adhere to what we've agreed to, right? The difference is, knowing the terms and conditions, right? And the in terms of why I'm specifically pointing this out, right? The oath that you take with God, right, is an oath that it literally encompasses everything, and it's a lifetime oath. It's not something that's temporary according to the terms of a contract or, what have you. And this is why when we refer to the story of Ghadir Khum and the Saqif of Banu Sa'ida, we see it as a betrayal.
Yes.
Right? We see that those who basically gave the oath of allegiance to Imam Ali alayhi salam broke that oath.
Literally they signed that contract. They pledged allegiance to Imam Ali. It's like signing a contract, coming out, ripping the contract up, writing your own contract, terms and conditions, and then signing it yourself and say, this is the contract.
Yeah, this is the new contract.
New
this
contract.
Is what forget what happened before.
But
God doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way.
You know what I mean? He takes your word for,
I mean, basically, God is telling us, listen, before you pledge anything, before you can even enter my religion, you have to have this pledge and contract. But the thing is, you can't just sign any old contract. You can't make one yourself. You have to pledge allegiance to the man that Allah is appointed upon you.
Exactly.
So, and the other thing is with this contract is that, do you know Aba Al Sadiq from Imam's piece in one of his episodes, he was calling out to all the criminals, all the sinners. Now, if you look at this contract, it's like, okay, if you're a sinner, you got loads of sins, you've probably not done much good in your life, you're probably struggling with your faith, but you know and recognize and have pledged to the Imam of your time, you'll go to paradise.
It's a reset button.
Then the thing is, you could be very pious, pray 5 times a day, I mean, do the obligations. But if you don't have an oath of allegiance or a pledge to the Imam of your time, you go to hellfire.
It's a big fail.
So the thing is, people should really try to understand this matter, what God and His Messenger is actually trying to tell humanity, what the roadmap is to heaven.
Well,
and the roadmap goes, firstly, through the Imam of the time.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. So in this world that is so confusing, that there are so many misleading directions to go down, right? How can we be sure, right, that what we're pledging allegiance to is worth that oath? And the answer is obviously that simple question. Is it appointed by God? Is my oath that I'm pledging allegiance, is that oath to something that is appointed by God, whether it's a man, whether it's an institution, whether it's a
book, it could be anything. But the thing is, it's what God requires you to pledge through, and what He requires, where you want, where He wishes for you to sign.
Okay, and this is the thing. So, with all that chaos out there, right? We believe in our faith here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear, made it very simple by giving us a very set, rigid sort of set of criteria to look for.
Exactly.
Right? So I just wanted to mention something that I think all Muslims will be, I'd say, focused on, or paying attention to. So they've just started their Ramadan, right, which we believe is wrong. And here's the funny thing: some started their Ramadan yesterday,
Yeah.
Some started their Ramadan the day before.
The day before.
And some are starting
day
their
after.
Ramadan today.
I didn't know about today. Today isn't like the third day.
Well, this is the point. So, like, there is this whole kind of chaos with the start of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And then there are those who basically believe it's all true.
I mean,
And they believe these differences between their starts is just a part of the process and it's acceptable by God.
no, it's actually the curse.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have a narration by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam in which they refer to the beheading of Al Hussein alayhi salam.
Yeah.
And how this triggered
Yeah.
the punishment that they are seeing right now with their Ramadan.
Yeah.
Now, the beautiful part of the narration for me is that it refers to the avenger of Al Hussein,
Yeah.
and how he will have a pivotal role in correcting this, right? So, what do we see from, what have we seen come true from that is, well, okay, so up until the Avenger part, everything came true, right? And it happened, and we've seen it for like decades in our lifetimes,
Yes.
in my parents' lifetimes for sure. Like this sort of disagreement on the start of Ramadan and so on has been
Even
about.
the end of Ramadan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the sad part.
Yeah.
Like they don't celebrate Eid together anymore.
I mean, how could a nation be content and satisfied knowing that they are separated in everything, even their
Literally.
prayers, even their fasting? Yeah, even when they go on Hajj, they have like different rituals, completely opposite to each other. And the thing is, isn't that they still want to class themselves as a one Muslim ummah that's upon the true path
The
of
righteous
Muhammad,
ummah
and they're
as
the
well.
righteous, and they're going to go straight into heaven. It
Actually
doesn't make
laughable,
sense.
isn't it? But this is the point. So, with all that said, right, the only thing that we've been waiting for, but we in this religion, in this path, like our personal journeys, have seen the Avenger come and rise, and he's the one who basically alerted us to all of this kind of
Corruption and confusion,
Right?
yes.
And this is the best part for me, the Avenger of Al Hussein, right? Who is that?
It's the Qaim, peace be upon him.
Okay, now who's his father?
The Al-Yamani, Imam Ahmad al-Hassan, from whom is peace.
The reincarnation of Al Hussein.
Al-Hussein. And who's prophesied to return first?
Exactly.
Imam Mahdi.
Al Hussein.
Al-Hussein.
Alayhi salam.
Yeah.
So here's the beautiful part of this whole story, meaning since the murders of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, it's gone full circle.
Yeah, it has.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just. Right? Meaning, okay, these individuals, like we're talking like from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam right down to the 11th Imam, were all murdered in one way or another.
Yeah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's not just going to say, okay, you guys were murdered, okay, I'm just going to put you in paradise now, up in heaven with me, and I'm going to keep you here. No. He returns them. He returns them so that they may take their rightful place in humanity, in human history.
Yeah.
Right? So what's their rightful place? That's the place that Iblis fought so hard to keep them from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The throne.
The throne, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like in terms of pledging allegiance in this world that we're living in and all the rest of that, like the Muslims especially need to think about, okay, so I have to pledge allegiance to the Imam of my time.
Yeah.
Right? Now, first thing I need to determine is who is that Imam?
Absolutely.
Right? How do I recognize him? And on what basis am I to give him my pledge of allegiance?
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I don't think many people think like this. They're not,
this is the point.
But this is how you're meant to be thinking.
Right. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. Right. So how, like, okay, who is the Imam? Okay, so if we were to say, for example, right, it's one of the clerics or scholars or whoever that, you know, talks in the name of religion, have they actually asked you for their Pledge of Allegiance or your Pledge of Allegiance?
No, they haven't.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the first kind of like, alarm bell.
I mean, sometimes you notice we get the callers in from the Sunni school of thought, and we do pose this question to them. And they go that my Imam is like Abu Hanifa, Bukhari. Yeah, you understand? They're going back to the source, basically, the sources for their narrations, and but the thing is, it's a pledge of allegiance to the Imam of your time, a living person.
Yeah, but this is the point. Even then, even if we were to go to these, like, okay, Abu Hanifa, did Abu Hanifa ever say pledge allegiance to me?
Never.
Do you know what I mean?
This is the thing.
So that's a very, very kind of important part of the equation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, who do we see actually saying pledge allegiance to me? If we look back in history, we see people like Abu Bakr, we see people like Omar, we see people like Uthman, we see like people like the Imams, the 12, you know, literally the 12 Imams. We see people like Muawiyah, like Yazid, right? These kinds of people were calling for the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Or fighting for it in the case of, obviously, the Umar, Abu Bakr, Yazid, etc. They fought for it, right? So they took the Pledge of Allegiance by violence, right? But you, as a human being, need to ask yourself, right? Okay, so what kind of Imam do I want to pledge my allegiance to? Is it someone that wants it by force, or is it someone that wants it by conviction? Meaning, like, you become convinced of what I'm calling you to, and then you declare your oath of allegiance to me.
Yeah.
I know what my choice is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was always like that very clear sort of...
But if you notice, that people don't really like to pledge allegiance to a living messenger.
Of course not. Yeah, of course not.
Because the thing is, a living messenger, literally, they're not comfortable with him.
Well, yeah, like there's
because what it is, it's very easy for the ego to pledge allegiance to a silent figure. You understand? Because a silent figure, they can literally follow it according to how they wish to follow
perception,
it. But a living messenger will not allow that. He will only allow you to follow what God wills. Exactly. So this basically shows us, I mean, Aba Al Sadiq from his piece once mentioned that actually mankind doesn't really want God. Why do you think God's never here or wasn't here present amongst the people? The reason is he's always been here but silent.
Right.
Because the thing is, and when he speaks through a messenger, they deny him, they belie him, they don't like what he brings.
That's the thing. Like, there is this, as you said, discomfort, right? Yeah. But it comes from, and this is the crazy part, this is the part that most people will be, like, we'll see a sort of, oh yeah, okay, I recognize that in myself, if they're honest with themselves, right? There is this ego, right, speaking and saying, okay, but he's just a guy like me.
Yeah.
Right? Why should I obey him? Well, like, what makes him so special?
Yeah, he looks like me.
Right?
Speaks like me, walks like me, eats like
me. Like, this is something we've seen throughout history, by the way.
Yeah. But then God is saying, on the other hand, that I will send a messenger. Yeah? That is from you. From you meaning he's like you.
Right.
He speaks your language.
Only he has, like, that authority from me in the form of the Holy Spirit.
That's it.
Right?
That's
so he doesn't misguide.
Exactly.
And that's the bit that people never really got their heads around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as far as I'm concerned. But, like, today, we have a man who's explaining it all in such an easy language to understand that you'd only be, like, basically, if you're unfair, if you're, like, you know, like, just unrighteous, or if you're the kind of person that, like, is just looking to justify yourself,
Yeah.
right, then you'll deny what he's saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you were fair, if you were honest, if you were like looking for like literally true guidance,
Yeah.
bro, there's no way you can deny him. There's no way you can say, no, I don't accept it.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
if you're from the sons of Adam, there's
Right?
no way you can deny him.
That's my point.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
Right.
we can see a pattern of the people that do deny him and the
Yeah.
people that do accept him.
Of course we can. And like, it's easy for us sitting here to say this because we've actually seen it.
Yeah, and we're actually witnessing both sides of it now.
Right.
Yeah, we see both sides. We see the
Right.
people from that side, how they react to this message.
Of course.
And we see the people that are on the other side, how they react to this message and how they take from it.
That's the bit that's like, for me, it is quite scary.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because, bro, it's such an, like, Aba Al Sadiq, from his piece, made it very, 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 very clear, right? When he presented it as a choice.
Yeah.
What determines your sort of like, okay, what determines where you stand in those two camps,
Yeah.
whether you're the sons of Satan or the sons of Adam, is literally today your choice, because everything's mixed so much.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you have the choice in your heart to feed one side or the other.
Exactly.
Right? And it's that proverb of the two wolves, right, that are at each other's throats, right,
Mm-hmm.
inside the human being, and one represents love and good and everything positive, and the other represents like hatred and evil and everything negative.
Yeah.
And like, the story goes that the little boy asks the grandpa, so which one wins out of these two wolves?
Wolves, yeah.
And the grandpa says to the child, whichever one you feed.
Mm-hmm.
Again, choice.
Choice, yeah. It's what you feed, it's what you want, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, if you want God and his messenger, you'll get God and his messenger.
Exactly.
If you want Iblis and Satan and his dunya,
Yeah, if you want yourself,
if you want yourself, that's what you're going to end up with.
literally.
Yeah.
And this is the other part of it. Like, it's actually interesting that we've gone there now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you do want yourself, then you'll end up with just yourself. But if you are considerate of everyone else, if you want everyone else to be like, you know, then you'll not be by yourself, will you?
No.
You understand what I mean?
No. I mean, what's needed, isn't it? What's needed in our lives is a recognition of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. What God wants from us.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, the God that's been portrayed into our minds is like a very angry God.
A wrathful God.
A very wrathful God.
Yeah.
I mean, you only have to reflect. I mean, go into Christianity, look at the Old Testament. The Old Testament, the God there is all wrathful. Yeah, it's all about punishments and
plagues and all sorts.
It's all about people. It's fear.
Yeah.
But then you go into the New Testament. It's like God is loving, and I mean, if you get slapped on one side of your face, you turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
I mean, that portrays a completely different side.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, people are going to be confused. It's confusing times. And what's happened in the last 1,000 years, especially with religious history and scripture, the corruption, the usurping of the rights of the rightful owners of this matter. We've ended up in a state that literally is so confusing. And if we really contemplate on where we have arrived, we've arrived at a place that actually we don't know where we are now, and it's complete darkness that surrounds us.
Yeah.
And the only little light that we can see that's shining in this darkness now, the light of truth, is Aba Al Sadiq from his peace, and his father and his forefather. They are here to navigate everyone, all of mankind, through this darkness and take them back to where they were originally meant to be.
Yeah, like how I see it, like it's like whatever walk of life you've come from, right? You in today's world have arrived at this crossroads, but it's a multi-junction crossroad with like so many different paths for you to take.
Yeah, it's like a multiple choice question.
Right?
Yeah.
There is only one path,
Yeah.
that there's actually a light at the end of it.
Yeah.
Right?
A true light.
Yeah.
Not
exactly,
a false light.
Exactly. Like a light that basically you can trust. Right?
Yeah.
And the reason you can trust it is because obviously, okay, here's the big thing. Nobody else on earth today tells you to ask God about him. Right? If you have any trust in God, then that's what I'm referring to. It's that trust. You know, so that light you can trust in, obviously, is the light of God.
It's the light of God, yeah.
Right? Like, if anybody else out there can come forward and say, oh yeah, you know, I know this man and he says, ask God about me, I'd love to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really would, because I know I asked God about Aba Al Sadiq from his peace back in my, you know, before I like jumped in, right? As in, like, before I gave like my 100%, I asked God about Aba Al Sadiq from his peace, and he was confirmed to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, God never misguides his sincere servant.
Right. And this is the point. Like, and I know you for a fact, like, I know for a fact that you know of, like, there's at least 100 people in your life, there's at least 100 people in my life, right, who can confirm this exact same story.
Yeah.
Right?
Plus the evidence is absolutely compelling, my brother. That's the thing. I mean, we're not even going on a little feeling. You understand?
Exactly.
It's actually, there's evidence in this claim.
For sure.
And
it's an evidence-based
we would be absolutely unjust to ourselves and the Imam of the time if he's presenting all this evidence backed up through scripture, through, like yourself, istikhara, and we walk away and deny this. I mean, we are doing a massive injustice to ourselves,
for sure,
and a massive injustice to the Imam of the time.
Yeah, and that's like, basically, if you can live with that injustice, then that's on you.
No, I couldn't live with that.
That's my point. That's exactly my point. I was just going to say, I personally, it's like lying to yourself. And if you're lying to yourself, then you're like, there's something wrong with you.
It's very unnatural, because they usually say that you can lie to everybody, but you can't lie to yourself.
Exactly.
And if you're lying to yourself, I mean, what's left for you?
Literally, what is left for you?
Be sure you're like, literally, you become like the last hope for yourself, and the last advisor. And if you have become corrupted and then you've denied all this, I mean, what's left?
Literally, you're delving into insanity at this point, aren't you? And that's the danger with this whole kind of, like, basically looking for a relationship with God and being honest with yourself. If you aren't honest with yourself, if you aren't able to, like, respect yourself enough to actually say, no, look, I cannot deny this, then you're literally, like, you're a failure. You're looking to, like, really, like, I mean, I actually don't know how to look at someone like that. I really don't.
We don't understand it. I literally don't understand it.
Literally, like, as confusing as can be.
What's happened, Brother Sermad? I think we've entered another dimension. We've entered another world. And when we're looking back and trying to interact with the people on the other side now, they're finding it difficult.
They think we're crazy, and we think they're crazy.
But this is prophesized. Literally, it's prophesized that the people that are upon this matter will be looked upon as the crazy people. Insane. But to the people of the earth, they're insane and crazy. But the people of the heavens, for them, they're absolutely normal. They know what they've got.
The sane ones.
They're the sane ones, literally.
Subhanallah. On that pleasant note, I do have to thank you, my brother. We've come to the end of our episode today.
Thank you for that little lovely conversation.
It was beautiful. Inshallah, we'll be back tomorrow with a very, very interesting conversation about a very specific topic. beginning our first part of the Four Horsemen. Please do tune in. All of you out there, thank you for joining us today. God bless you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.